So I want to welcome everybody, and I want to thank you for coming. This is number 2 in our eQMS webinar series. Today we are navigating eQMS and MedTech with MasterControl. At CQG, we get asked a lot, quite frequently, what is the best eQMS for you? And much like how we handle a lot of things at CQG, to me, that's not a black and white answer. There's a lot of solutions now. And the important thing is to understand what you and your organization, your milestones, your individual, what it is you're looking for and what works best for you. So given that, I had been thinking about putting a series like this together for my team, where we would just continue to work with some of the providers and understand them so we could answer that question better. And then I thought, why stop there? Let's open this up to everybody, because I remember when I was in industry, and as I talk to my friends in industry, part of the challenge is just feeling like you have a safe space where you can get some nuggets around the different vendors and really understand which ones you want to dive into to see if they're a better solution for you or the best solution for you. I'm going to move my slides. So to give you a little background of us before I hand off to our wonderful MasterControl. CQG, we serve over about 200 companies worldwide, and we are really your go-to quality department. We can do as much or little in the quality space for you that you like. And our focus, what we'll always bring, is really translating regulations into real world solutions that are sustainable so that they work for you in your business. We don't feel like we have to come in and change everything. We really want to know where you're going, what your goals are, and how we can help you get there, whether that's putting in a full system because you're not there, you haven't put one in, or you have one, and we help you navigate that. And again, that's kind of my approach to eQMS. It's really important to understand you and your organization, and then the eQMS solution, and bring those two together. As I'm about to hand off to Jon at MasterControl, we're going to do 2 poll questions today. The first one is, what is your priority with an eQMS solution? In a moment, I'll launch that on the screen. You'll be able to answer, and then we'll have another poll question before we do our demo with Dallas. On that note, Jon, I'd like to hand off.
Thank you, and thank you to Cannon Quality Group for having us today. My name is Jon Roderick. I'm a region manager at MasterControl, and later on I'll be joined by Dallas Volk, who will be doing our demonstration. And for today, we wanted to discuss a few things. We'll introduce MasterControl as a company and also talk a little bit about our platform, and then we'll jump into the demonstration. But just a little bit about our organization. We've been around for 25 years in the QMS space. We're headquartered in lovely Salt Lake City, Utah. We've been doing this for a long time, and really, the nice thing about MasterControl is we're a privately held company. Our full focus is on getting the absolute best quality product we can into your hands. And it's been successful over the years. We have over 1,000 customers, a lot of pharma, a lot of med device companies using this application, and we're the proud provider of the FDA, who uses our system in 3 of their departments. So we'll talk a little bit more about the platform. We'll get into the demonstration, and then obviously want to give you some time to ask any questions and have a discussion about anything that's top of mind for you. The first thing I wanted to start out with is just, as you guys know, anybody who's working with paper knows the pains of paper, right? Trying to get things approved, routed to the right people, getting the right signatures. And then, once those changes are implemented, trying to get everybody trained on the new processes can be a challenge. Obviously, if you incorporate any CAPAs in your organization, making sure if you have multiple sites, that each site has the newest release, all that becomes really a challenge when you're working with a paper world in quality. But that all goes away when you use MasterControl and you change that paper into digitization. Now your focus is on just getting the best quality product out the door you possibly can. All the other stuff in the background that quality has to happen really takes place on its own. So it really frees up your time to do what you do best, and that's manage that quality. The nice thing about MasterControl, there are a couple of things. One, this is a complete cloud-based application, so very little care and feeding from your IT department. If you have internet connection, whether a handheld device or obviously a PC, you can get connected to the platform. And we call ourselves a closed loop quality system. So wherever you are in your quality and your product life cycle, we have an application or a solution for, whether it's getting started in the development side, doing clinical trials, doing registrations in other countries, obviously the quality of the documents and training we'll talk more about, trying to manage your suppliers if you have other suppliers who need to know information about your SOPs, et cetera, they can have access to MasterControl and see what's going on. And really, the second piece of our connected platform is our electronic batch record solution. So those production records that if you're doing manufacturing in your organization, you have the ability to digitize those as well. So that really ties in nicely with quality. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then if you're doing, obviously, if you have complaints come into your organization, a great way to log those complaints and whether they need a CAPA or not, you can have access to that documentation. So we call this a closed loop system. You can obviously start with quality and kind of branch out as your organization grows. But let's just talk for a minute about the heart of it, which is the quality management piece. So what Dallas will show a little bit today at a very high level is how documents are routed, how they're approved, how you can make changes, and how that's easily done in the software. We'll talk a little bit about training and setting up exams for your people. Obviously, you know, if you get audited, that's one of the main things that the FDA looks for, is that everybody in your organization get trained. For CAPAs, any kind of quality events that happen in your organization, a great way to manage those, apply risk factors to them, and making sure if they meet a certain standard, they do qualify for a CAPA. And then any kind of external and internal audits that you do are easily managed through the MasterControl system. Definitely save you a lot of time on those as well. So, you know, that's great now, but what does our customers say about the application? What's some of the output or metrics that they've experienced using the MasterControl system? This quote is by one of our compounding pharmacy manufacturers, Fagron, and they noticed in implementing MasterControl, you would hope that, you know, your first-time metrics have improved greatly, up to 90%. They spend a lot less hours preparing training materials for their staff, and they're getting their SOP signatures approved from what used to take months to less than 24 hours. So we have some great metrics that we've used with our customers too. And another thing that our customers are implementing is our validation tool. So a big part of the quality system is like making sure your software remains in a validated state. We have a patent-approved product. It's called our Validation Excellence Tool that we developed with a lot of former FDA officials to help take that burdensome approach to validation away from you and getting it done quicker than you normally have in today's world. So I mentioned a little bit about the production records, and with the MasterControl platform, we view quality and manufacturing kind of together. And if you think about getting rid of all the paper in your organization, these two really go hand in hand when you implement both at the same time. If you look from an operations perspective, what happens on the manufacturing floor? Well, they want real-time work-in-progress data. They want to be able to perform at the highest level of quality they possibly can. They want to do that in with as few errors as they possibly can do. And then obviously they're in charge of profitability and making sure that product gets out the door faster, which turns into faster cash flow. But sometimes, maybe not in your organization, quality kind of bumps up against that manufacturing piece and it becomes difficult. Quality, they want, you know, similar goals. They want it right the first time as well. They want to make sure that everybody on the floor is trained with the latest SOPs. They want to be able to review by exception. So instead of having to look through paper and doing review processes that way, they can simply look at any exception that was made and do the review process then. So how does that work together? Well, what we're finding with our manufacturing and quality products together is those organizations that implement both are able to reduce errors even greater. They're getting products that used to take 2 or 3 weeks approval time out the door in a few days, which obviously speeds up cash flow. So we view those two products together as a real workhorse for your organization. But without further ado, I wanted to turn some time over to Dallas. He'll kind of walk us through at a high level some of the aspects of MasterControl, and then we'll have some Q&A at the end. So Dallas?
And I'm going to launch our second poll while you're doing that.
Okay. Great.
For the team sees it. Everyone's answering. Great.
All right. So I'll get started talking about MasterControl. Jon went through a lot of this information about the different areas of MasterControl. I'm going to start off by focusing on quality, but I'll talk how that ties into the rest of the pieces of the system. So a few things high level with MasterControl is, and Jon mentioned a few of these, this being cloud, but one of the things is this is a configurable software. So you as business owners can design the software to work how you want it for your industry, for your regulatory requirements. And configuration to me is a really important thing as compared to customization. And when I talk customization, that means you need the system to do something and you have to call the vendor and they come in, they bring in one of their engineers and they redesign the code to do what you want it to do. Customization is very hard to upgrade and very hard to validate. Configuration is very easy to upgrade and validate because we give you all the configuration functionality and we can do all the operational qualifications on that configuration functionality. So the upgrades and the validation become much easier with a configurable system as compared to a customized system. The system ties into your user's email account, so that's nice. When I get a training task, not only when I'm logged into the system do I see my training task, but MasterControl is going to send me an email saying you have a new training task you need to do, and it'll give me a link directly into that task to do it to complete that task. Along with that, you can see that there are several modules in MasterControl. So one thing about the system is when we install MasterControl, we install the entire software suite. But you as business owners, you can decide that for right now, all I want to do is implement documents and training. That's most critical to me. So I can implement documents and training, configure that to my business, start using the system for documents and training. And when I'm ready, and now I feel I want to start bringing in quality events, I can just tell MasterControl we're ready to start using quality events, and we can turn on the quality events section of that and start configuring your quality event system. So that could be things like customer complaints, deviations, non-conforming material reports, CAPAs, management of change forms. But the thing about the system is, now that I'm ready for quality events, as soon as I start using those, implement that into the system, it's going to start integrating with the rest of the software. So kind of a big picture day in the life, my company could be having quality events happen like customer complaints and deviations. And from those customer complaints, you will see as I'm putting in my data for my customer complaints and looking for what kind of event reporting I may have to do. One of the phases in the form is my engineer putting in the investigation data. So they come in and they put in their investigation data, but one thing you will see in the investigation is an evaluation for CAPA. So I'm giving my product engineer a tool that he can use to look at the risk of this type of complaint and see, is this something that needs to be reviewed for CAPA, or is this something that I'm just going to complete as a complaint? And it uses a frequency times severity scale or a frequency times impact scale. So that engineer, it's really easy for them to say, I have this type of complaint and it happens very infrequently. And when it does happen, the severity is very low. That's a low risk complaint for me. Let's close that out as a complaint. But I can also say that this complaint happens quite often. And when it does happen, it's severe. So while I'm investigating this complaint, I can also launch a child form off of this complaint to my CAPA team for them to start evaluating this problem for CAPA. So I would continue as the people working on the complaint, I would continue working the complaint through its process, but in conjunction with that, my CAPA team gets a form assigned to them and it says, because of this complaint, and it maps all of this data over from the complaint, this is the issue that's happening. This is the investigation that we've done in the complaint form so far. And this gives your CAPA team the ability to review that issue and see, is this something that we really want to put into the CAPA system, or is this something that based off of risk, we can close this as an issue and close it out? So one thing that's really nice with this tool is I've got two places where I'm assessing risk. So my death by CAPA scenario goes way down in MasterControl because we're using risk-based decision making, and we all know that CAPAs are they're highly auditable. Once you consume a CAPA number, it's highly auditable, and CAPAs are manpower, man-hour eating machines. So I do not like working on things in CAPA that shouldn't be in CAPA because it's a waste of time for my business. But I also want a way to justify why things are going into CAPA. And to me, even more important than that, justify why something didn't go into CAPA. Somebody could ask me, why didn't this issue go into CAPA? And I can say, the risk was very low and the severity is very low. I have no reason to take this into CAPA. I'm going to correct it as an issue and close that out.
I love that death by CAPA. I have one quick question, Dallas. While you're scrolling, there's a section down there that's like trend. I was just curious what was it down on the bottom? I thought there was like what do you do with that? close, try, and trim. Does that go somewhere else? I'm not trying to derail you.
Yeah.
I saw that trim thing, and I was like, ooh, what's that?
So what my Kappa team's doing is when they get this issue, they are looking at the frequency and severity, and they're making a recommendation based off of that. So do I recommend that we do take this to Kappa? Do I recommend that we just contain the problem? Maybe I recommend both. Maybe I just say, let's fix and document this as an issue because the risk is so low. But it gives me a place to put in any immediate containment and correction, but then also allows, in my case, it's a Kappa manager would make a decision that, yes, this one does need to go to Kappa. And this would be the first time that it actually consumes a Kappa number where I put it through that Kappa process. And now we're looking at, we are into that full-blown Kappa process. So a tool to do root cause investigation. So what is the root cause of this problem? I can look at, MasterControl's built some methods in there that you can use if you choose to turn them on, which is a comparative analysis and a 5 whys. But you can attach anything to any of the forms. You can attach attachments and link to other pieces of MasterControl. So if I decide that I'm not going to use the 5 whys or the comparative analysis, I would do just put in what my root cause is. And maybe I did an Ishikawa diagram and I've got a fishbone on my whiteboard. So I'm going to take a picture of that and attach that here. And now I've come up with what the root cause is. I can invite other team members in to agree with that and sign off on it, and then move it into the implementation phase of corrective actions.
Cool.
Actually, this would be the planning phase. So I would lay out a plan on how I'm going to eliminate that root cause, and then I'm going to implement that plan. So once we decide that this is the plan, we'll implement, and there's different ways I can do that. We've got action items. This is me sending tasks out to people saying, you need to order new instrumentation. You need to install the new instrumentation. You need to do a validation. It sends these task forms out to these people to do that with a due date and their instructions. And then as they complete it, they can attach any material, put in their notes, and send it back to me. So if I want to see anytime down the road, I want to see the audit that CAD did as part of the implementation of this Kappa, I've got that form that I can open up. And it also gives my managers the ability to see all the tasks I have out, which ones are complete, which ones are past due, which ones are coming due. Along with that, another piece of implementation is oftentimes in a corrective action, documents need to be revised. So that happens in our documents module. We revise, all our documentations are held in the documents module. They're revised. All the controls for documents are in the documents module. But I want it to be triggered from a Kappa. So the Kappa form actually gives me the ability to launch document changes in the documents module, and it will record all the documents that got changed from this Kappa. And on the documents, it creates a bidirectional link. So all of those documents will show that their change was because of a Kappa. So I can launch document changes right from the corrective action. And then I would go through effectiveness checks to verify my effectiveness. We actually have a tool called an event analyzer that you can set up that will look for problems for you. So my whole scenario here was we were getting a bunch of complaints on labels peeling and the ink running on a certain product. So we went through a corrective action to try to fix that problem, and now I want to verify it's effective. One thing I can do is I could send an action item out to one of my quality inspectors and say, run random samples for the next 2 months looking for labeling problems for product X and send me back your results, and they can do it through an action item. But we also have a tool called an event analyzer that will monitor the system for you. So I'll create an analyzer agent and I'll tell it to look for labeling problems for product X from this day forward. I don't want to look through history because I know there's a historical problem. From this day forward, and if you can find 10 of them, send me a notification. And what that analyzer agent will do is it'll watch all the new complaints and deviations and non-conformances and coming into the system looking for labeling problems for product X. And hopefully I never get a response from my analyzer agent. But there is a chance, 5 weeks down the road, you get an email from the system saying, okay, since you think you fixed this, there's been 5 complaints, 3 deviations, and 2 non-conforming material reports for that problem. What do you want to do with it now? So I don't have to keep going back to reports. I'll tell the system to watch for me. Right,
and you're not waiting until whatever occurrences are first occur. This is part of the intelligence you guys started to really bring out.
Absolutely, yeah. So I kind of want to show that, and then the last steps are really easy. Just your Kappa team going in and reviewing and putting any notes in about the Kappa, and your Kappa manager closing that out, saying it's closed. But I kind of wanted to show that, I'm tying pieces together. I'm tying complaints to Kappa requests. I'm tying Kappa requests into Kappas. I'm tying Kappas into document changes. And then from the documents module, part of the configuration of the documents module is you can put any types of documents you want into the system. Because it's configurable, I can tell MasterControl I want corporate policies, quality procedures, manufacturing work instructions, lab methods, research and development documentation, DHF documents, environmental health and safety documents, really all the document types that you may want to control, even down to like marketing materials. A lot of people put marketing materials in here because those have to be controlled. They have to be approved. They need revisions. So you configure those into the system. You say, I've got a document type called quality procedure. These are the rules for quality procedures. Anytime somebody creates a quality procedure, I've got a numbering scheme I'm going to build into the system. So nobody has to call doc control and say, what number should I use for my quality procedure? The system knows what the number is for a quality procedure. I want the quality manager to get a review task once a year or once every 2 years to review the quality procedures for content and make sure that they're still good. And either revise them or sign off that they're good for another year. So take over your review policy. Different documents go on different workflows. So when I build a document out, how do I want it to go through a workflow? I can design that in so that the person doesn't even have to go to a signature matrix. The system automatically knows who trains to that. I mean, who approves that document type based off of the document type. This is a workflow that I build out, and you can build out as many workflows in the system as you want, and you can assign one to many document types, one to one. Some documents may have several workflows that they could go on, and the user picks which workflow to put that on. But I want to show some of the things that are going to be huge time savers for your company. One of them is the collaboration step. In a paper world, I create a procedure, and I create a procedure in Word, and I email it out to 4 of my peers and tell them to see if they see anything wrong with it, and they do all their markups and add what they want to, and then they send 4 copies back to me, and I got to figure out how to coalesce that into one document and then start handing it out for signatures. Well, in a collaboration step, I'll put that Word document into MasterControl as the document I want to go through the approval process. And my first step will be a collaboration step. And rather than me send that document out to all those people, I'll bring those people to the document. And we'll all do our commenting, our redlining, the tweaking of that document in this collaboration workspace. And when me as the owner feels that it's ready to be approved, I'll end the collaboration and I'll sign off on it. And it'll automatically send that document that we reviewed to the approval team. Now, this one's another big time saver is parallel steps. I can go serial all the way across, but in my scenario, quality and operations need to sign off on this document type. And I could care less who signs off first. So I might as well send it to them both at the same time, see if I can get them both sign off simultaneously.
Right, because you had the collaboration already, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely, yep.
You have that piece. And the collaboration is so key because nowadays in our world, we're so used to software and other aspects of our life being able to talk to people and not wait. So we're just used to it now. It's nice.
Yeah, and what's nice is MasterControl is also mobile friendly. So you can use this with your PC, your laptop, your tablet, your smartphone. So we live in a world now where this is a cloud solution. You can use it with any device you want. I've got people all over the world working from home, working from different locations. But I can bring everybody to one space in this software and collaborate on this and get it approved in one area.
That's huge, that little aspect.
So this is another piece that's a big time saver that I like. And I know that we got some device people on the line, and hopefully you'll understand this scenario. The company I came from, so I was a user of MasterControl as a quality engineer for a medical device company. I used MasterControl there for 5 years before I came to MasterControl. And I was part of the configuration team of this. And some of my document workflows had a role called design engineer. And design engineers are horrible at signing off on documentation. They would sit on documents for 30 days, right? And finally get it signed off, get to it and sign it off and move it on. Well, I didn't want that to happen anymore. I don't want that bottleneck. So anywhere I had a design engineer in my workflow, I set an escalation there, and I set mine for 7 days, which means when that design engineer got the task, it showed a date he had to have it done by. And the way I set up my escalation is if he didn't get it done by that date, the system automatically pushed it to his manager to approve. So 1, now my biggest bottleneck for the design engineer is 7 days. And 2, I'll tell you, it doesn't take long for a manager to get with that design engineer and say, why am I paying you if I have to keep signing off on all your tasks? So that bottleneck just went away for me. But my goal here was to show you that you can build these workflows however you want. I put certificate of conformances in MasterControl, and it was a single approval. You dropped it in and signed off on it. But then I had some regulatory documents that had a lot of approvals in that and some policies. So you get to design those how you want and associate to those document types. So you can revise documents within the system. I can check them out. It locks the document down and puts a new revision in draft, so I can put it through an approval process. The system will automatically release the new revision and push the old one into archive, or I could start with new, And based off of the document type, it will have all those attributes, and I'll put it through the workflow and release it, and it'll be available to the people. Another part of the configuration is you can control what your people see and do in the company. At my company, if you were a manufacturing operator, there was a role in MasterControl called manufacturing operator, and all of my operators were in that role. That role only allowed the people in that role to see corporate quality and manufacturing procedures. So when they went into the system and did searches for documentation, it never pulled marketing materials or research and development documents, because I didn't need an operator to see that. I also locked it down enough to where they only had the key to the released documents. So when they went into the system, they could see corporate quality and manufacturing, but they could only see the approved document. They couldn't see any archived or draft documents because I didn't want them working to archive or draft documents. But then the people that are in management that are revising documentation, my manufacturing managers, their role allowed them to go to the manufacturing documents and check them out and see them in draft and put them through approval processes. And my design engineers for design and development documentation, they had access to get into the archive vault to see historical changes to the document because they needed that. So I can set it up to where if you're a manufacturing operator and you go into MasterControl, all you can do in the system is find documents that are applicable to you that are released and do your training. And that's all you can do in the system.
And that's really a big efficiency thing, because they don't need to weed through all these other documents. Try and keep them, focused on what it is that they need and not have to set time.
Absolutely, and that's how I designed it. I want my operators to come into my system, find their documents, do their training, and get out of my system and get back to work. But those people that are in quality and management, they're going to need a lot more rights in the system, so they'll have more access to the system. And really, when oh, go ahead. No, please go.
Okay. Sales would be another good example. A lot of times they don't want to weed through everything, and you want to kind of keep them focused on the few things that you want them to train do, so that they can get it done quickly and then get back to, growing the business.
Absolutely. And so, I can put documents through collaboration. I can revise them. I can have a collaboration team come in and review the documents. We can make comments to each other. We can even redline the documents. I'm using the Word tool to actually capture the redline. So as my people come in and make changes, the Word tool is actually capturing the edits they make. All they have to do is sign off and it records it. Save it and it records it, but it's letting the collaboration leader let his team do their thing, and he can go in at the end and he can review all the changes that were made, do any final tweaks to the document, and then say it's ready for approval and sign off on it. And it will take that edited document, it creates a clean version of it for the revision and puts it into the approval process. And then my approvers, they get tasks in their task list, and they get notifications for the system where they can view the documents right from the system. It will ask for credentials, but this makes it a lot easier for your users. And if they can log into the system and sign off on this, or they can just click the link in here and it'll ask for their credentials and take them directly to that task. Now, what I like about the task is it gives them the instructions. It shows them the documents they're approving, but I also had to carry the red lines over that we did in collaboration. My management team likes to see what changed between 3 and 4. So they can go to the red lines that we did, see what the changes we made, and they can see the clean version of revision 4 now, and then they can sign off to approve or reject this. Approval, they put in their electronic signature password, signs off, records it. Doug Little, the quality manager, signed off. If you rejected, the comments field becomes required, and then when I sign off on it, what it's going to do is, let's say operations approved it and then quality rejected it. It's going to send an email to operations saying that quality rejected this, so you're going to have to approve it again. But then it sends the task back to collaboration and tells Matt, I can't approve your document because of these reasons. He can make the fix, put it through the process, and then once the final approval happens, it will release that document and it will push the old version into archive. I've set up folders that automatically populate with release documentation. So as soon as 4 came in and pushed 3 into archive, like my operators, when they go to their operator documents and go to their manufacturing procedures, it automatically updated that to the latest revision. So they always have access to the latest revision. And I've also got it set up to where my operators only get to see a PDF rendering that MasterControl made. I don't want my operators having access to the native file, the Word document, or the Excel spreadsheet. Now, my management team has to have access to that because they're making changes, but I don't want my operators to have that. So MasterControl actually made a copy of a PDF of the Word document that got approved. They can view the PDF inline with watermarks, but if I give them download rights, they could actually print the document out. And the way I've set mine up, my publishing up, is for manufacturing procedures. It puts a cover page on with my company logo. I told the cover page what to pull in from the document. So the revision, the procedure number, who the author and owner of the document are, what type of document it's released, when did it get released. But I put some rules on my manufacturing procedures. If you print it out, it's going to stamp who was logged in when they printed it out and when they printed it. And I put an expiration date of 48 hours on my manufacturing procedure. So if you do print it out, it's going to stamp on there 48 hours from the time you printed out, this expired. And just so you know, if you take a copy of this procedure out and put it on your desktop, you can click on that PDF icon and open that up for 48 hours. But on the 49th hour, when you click on it, it's going to pop up a notice saying this document is expired. It won't open anymore. You need to go back to MasterControl for another rendering. So it puts a time bomb on that. It goes so that, you know, I'm ensuring that there's no rogue copies out there of manufacturing procedures. And then also the publishing tool will put the signature manifest on the back page showing all the steps that went through for approval, who those people were, their title, the time and date that they proved it, and the meaning of their electronic signature. So when you start talking about Part 11 compliance stuff, this is showing to an auditor, if I hand them this procedure, it's showing them that cover page with all the document controls. It's showing them the signature manifest and those people and their titles and the time that they proved it up and what their electronic signature means.
Now, you mentioned there were some in there, there were some things that you put, like, you know, the who opened it. Are those part of the configuration when you go and set up, is it workflow or? So
that's part of the configuration for the publishing. So you'll say manufacturing documents, when they publish, it's going to have this information on it. It's going to have these rules with the person that printed it and the expiration date. But I've got policies, or maybe I've got just memos that I'm putting in MasterControl, and I don't care who prints it out or how long it's out. So I wouldn't put those rules on those types of documents.
Okay, so by document type. Okay.
Now, another thing that happens though is, you know, that document got revised and released, and it pushed the other document into archive. And so now that's the approved document. It updates my folders that people go to find the documents automatically. But I also, this was a labeling procedure, and the labeling procedure got revised because of that kappa in this scenario. But I've also got in my training module, I've got a course on labeling, and it's linked to that procedure. So as soon as that document got released, the training module knew, oh, my labeling procedure got revised for revision 4. It knows all the required trainees, and it instantly fired off training to the required trainees as soon as I got approved. That's the way I've got mine configured. You can set up stalls in there, like during the approval process, you could set an effective date in the future where it approves, but lets people train and then releases it. You can set up a rule where 80% of the required trainees have to train on it before it gets released. But the system won't let you open the document if you're not trained to it. So I got rid of both of those, and it just fires off the training. And then when the person goes to open it up, it'll say, go to your training and make you train on it, and then come back and open the document. Now, the training, you can really train on anything you want to. So all my procedures in the system, I've created a course with all of the instructions and the rules, you know, due dates, so that if they don't get it done within a certain amount of time, they get notified that you're going to go past due if you don't train on this, and then it notifies their supervisor if they go past due on training. I can build exams. So if I want to test for competency, there's an exam tool built into the software where I want to test them on the labeling procedure. So I could build an exam and they would have to pass that. But in my scenario that I was telling you, I have the course actually linked to the procedure. So it's married. It knows what's happening with that procedure when it gets revised, knows who trains to it, and automatically sends the training out. But you don't have to train to pieces of MasterControl. If I want to create a PowerPoint presentation that I'm not going to put into MasterControl, or a video file, or a SCORM course, or I want them to go to a URL link, I just attach that to the course, and that's the materials that they see. Another thing I really like is the job codes. I can put people directly into courses, but if I want this easy to maintain, I'll create job codes, which is just groups of people that have identical training requirements. So I could have a job code called all employees and put everybody's role in there, and I'd link that to the IT policy and the safety policy. That way MasterControl knows no matter what you do in my company, you're taking this training. But then I start creating job codes for my training matrix. Manufacturing operators, I put the manufacturing operator roles in there and link it to the courses that a manufacturing operator has to take. Quality associate, HR generalist, whatever I want to put into the system. But now when I hire a new manufacturing operator, all I have to do is go into the system and say, this is Jane Doe, and I have to just put her in the manufacturing operator role. And that's all the configuration I have to do. As soon as I do that, the system knows these are the documents that a manufacturing operator gets to see, these are the rights they have, and this is the training I need to launch out to them and what they're required to train to. So once you get it all set up, your people would get tasks in their task list, but they'll also get the email. They can go directly into the task from the email. And the way mine's set up is From the course, it tells them what they need to do, takes them through a little workflow, why they're taking this, the materials. So in my case, that labeling procedure revised to revision 4, so it launched the training out and gave them access to the PDF for that new revision. But I wanted to show kind of a hybrid of, I put some things in here. This is a video on how my company applies labels, so they can open that up. And this one that says FDA, that actually has a URL link in the background. If you click on that, it opens up another tab in your browser and it takes you to the guidance document for labeling at the FDA website. So you can put any combination of those in. I did want to show about exams. If you want to build exams, you can put as many questions in as you want. You can have it randomize the questions. You can give the questions point values. My person has to pass this exam. I've also given some retakes. So if they bomb it, they can take it again. But when they go to take this exam, you know, I've got an example of a true false question that they would answer and a multiple choice question. Also, one thing that's nice is you can put images in the training, so that, you know, I use this with my QC group a lot. I'd put a picture of a failure in there and I'd say, what do you see? And they'd have to answer that. But it's nice to be able to put those images in there. And when they're done with the exam, it'll show them which questions they got correct, which ones they got incorrect, whether they passed or failed. If they failed, they can do a retake. But when they're done and they pass, they can sign off. Now the system's instantly updated that that person is now trained to the labeling procedure. And the system is full of analytics. There's reports everywhere. We're going to give you a whole bunch of out-of-the-box reports for documents and training and CAPAs and deviations, but you can also create your own reports in the system. So if I wanted to create a past due supervisor report, I just go to an interactive view, pull the supervisor field over here, create a chart that shows all of my supervisors and how much past due training they did. And then I'd put a quick filter in for my supervisor. So if I want to see specifically one, I could click on that and it would show all of their employees and how much past due training they have. Now, what's cool about the reports is you can build your own. You can design your own reports to tell your own story, and you can either export those out to a PDF or an Excel or an HTML file, or you can save them and go to those at any time. So my past due supervisor report, I'll save that, and now I've got a report I can go to anytime and see live data on past due training by the supervisors. But another thing I like that's really cool is called scheduled reports. So my company, I wanted my supervisors to have more visibility of what's going on with past due training. So I went into scheduled reports in MasterControl and I said, every Monday morning at 6 a.m., take a snapshot of the past due training report and email it out to the supervisors. And I didn't ever have to worry about it again. It was set it and forget it. But I knew every Monday morning when my supervisors come into work, there's going to be a past due training report waiting for them in their email from MasterControl. And then one last piece on the training, and then I'm going to show one more big picture thing and open this up to questions. But I told you about those job codes. Here's another reason why I really like the job codes. Is here's my job code for operators. These are the people that are in the job code, their roles and users. And these are the courses that a job code that a operator is linked to. So this is their curriculum. If I'm on the manufacturing floor and they've given me the rights to do this, I need somebody who can run the packaging line. I can just go to the status. It will show me all of my operators, their curriculum, and what they're completed on. So for somebody on the manufacturing floor, this is like a manager, this is great because I need somebody who can run the packaging line. Maybe Ken called in sick and I need somebody who can run that. This shows me everybody who's qualified to run the packaging line. From a quality standpoint, I like it because an auditor's coming in and I know they're going to hit operator training because that's just low-hanging fruit. So this gives me the ability before that auditor gets in there to find the people I want to light up before the auditor gets here because they're not doing their training tasks. So this is really nice to have a quick view of how that group's doing and their overall completion for their curriculum to become an operator. So now that I've kind of shown you how those pieces interact together, think of this about when you're being audited. I have an auditor come in and they start looking at my complaints. Well, they see some complaints that look pretty scary and they say, what did you do with this? Well, right from that complaint form, I can click the link and show for this complaint, I sent it to the CAPA team and I can send it right to that issue review and show all the decision making that CAPA team did. Well, that CAPA team decided that this did need a CAPA. I click the link and show the CAPA that happened. So they're looking at the CAPA and they're seeing the implementation and they're like saying, I see you change some documents. Can I see those? I don't have to go and look through an Excel spreadsheet to see which revisions of the documents that I changed. I just click the link and it takes me right to the document change packets. And then they're going to ask me, which is what an auditor will do, is how can you prove to me that everybody trained to that? All I got to do is click the link and show all the training that happened for that document change. So think of this big picture. If you ask me, why am I training on a document? If I had enough writes in the system with 1, 2, 3, 4 mouse clicks, I can show you the whole breadcrumb trail that you're training on this document ultimately because of a customer complaint that happened 6 weeks ago. So that's kind of showing how the quality management piece fits together. But if you look at it much more big picture, if you start bringing in other pieces, it's going to integrate with those pieces. I'll show manufacturing for an example. So in our manufacturing tool, you can create your own electronic batch records or travelers in the system so that your people, rather than doing everything on paper, they're punching it in on a tablet as they're putting the data in. But I want it to integrate with my quality management system. I want to stop that fight between quality and operations over a bunch of ticky-tack stuff. So when I'm building the template, the people are going to use before I get it approved, when I'm building the template, I'll link to the procedure in the documents module. That way my operators always have access to the approved document. Since there's training associated to that document, if one of my operators comes in and tries to put data in and they're not trained to the procedure or the work instruction, the system will pop up a notice saying you're not trained to this, you can't put data in, and it'll give you a link directly to the training so you can do your training and then come back and start putting data in. Another thing that happens a lot is in a production record is there's deviations. Quality has to start a deviation and you have to figure out how I get that deviation referenced back to my production record. Well, if I build that functionality into the production record, I can launch deviations to the quality team right from the production record. It will keep track of whether those are completed or in process, and they're automatically linked back to the quality events piece. So by me building this electronically, I can take away all of the possible errors that we're having that are just ticky-tack errors, like people forgetting to fill in fields, so I'll make the fields required so they have to fill it in. People not signing. If you're logged in and you put data in, the system automatically logs it was you and the date you put it in. Nobody can make a 1 that looks like a 7 because you're typing that data in. We're ensured you're trained. We're ensured you're using the right procedure. We're ensuring the deviations happen when they're supposed to, that your corrections go in correctly. So all that's baked into the production record, which gives your quality team at the end of a run, gives them that review by exception where I don't have to go and check to make sure everybody's trained and that everything's filled out and that 1s don't look like 7s and all of that. All I have to see is what happened different from the way the production record was designed. So how many steps were corrected? There were 2, and it will show me what step that got corrected, what the old value was, what the new value was, who made the change, why they made the change. That all happened. That's baked into the system. Are there any attachments? My company has to, show a picture of a label. So if you're doing this on an electronic batch record, I just say put an attachment, and the system asks me, do you want to use your camera on your tablet? And I say yes, and I take a picture of it and it attaches it to the production record. There was a form launched on this one, and it was a deviation. So I can see the deviation. I can go right to that. I can see if it's completed or not. I can see what happened from that. So me as the quality control person at the end of this process, and I don't have to go through 400 pages of documents to make sure everything was done correctly. All I have to do is see what didn't happen the way it's supposed to, and then based off of that, accept the batch and release it, and then the system will turn that into an inspection-ready production record.
Little user errors or mark-offs. Yeah.
So my goal here was to just show you that you can start small. For right now, I just need docs and training. But I can start bringing in these pieces anytime I want, and they'll automatically start integrating with the rest of the system. So, that's what we actually recommend, that is that people start off in phases, start off with docs and training, get comfortable with that, bring in quality events, bring in audits, bring in manufacturing. And then also one thing that we recommend in a phase 2 is if you are going to have any integrations with other software, that we do that afterwards. And we have an API toolkit and an iPaaS system that can make those integrations with your ERP system, your MES system. So I'm going to stop there and pass this back over to the team. All right.
Okay, I think we're going to do Q&A, right, Nicolle? Is that next on our agenda?
Yeah, we need a quick sum up for MasterControl.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you, and then we can do mine, and then we'll open it up to questions. Everyone can start loading those in now while we do our last 2 thank you slides.
Great. Appreciate everybody joining. We went through a lot of material today, obviously, in the short amount of time we had. So we'd love to show you more. If you'd like to see an additional demonstration, please feel free to email us at info@mastercontrol.com, and you'll be routed to one of our sales specialists, and we'll get in touch with you, understand where your journey is, and then really customize a demonstration for you. So we'd love to hear from you.
And I want to thank everyone for coming. 2 quick nuggets if you want anything. On the one side, we have a gift for you. So it's a complimentary eQMS infographic and comparing a couple of different of our solutions that are out there in the world. I don't mean our solutions, I mean the solutions that are out there in the world. And then for startups, what we've put out, it's been a lot of time coming in the sense that I'm not somebody who thinks there's one quality system out there. So I've been hesitant to put something out. This year we did release a small set of procedures for those early stages to help you get rolling. With that, we also have a coaching program. We've learned over the years that a lot of people put out procedures without coaching, and then you still don't know what to do. So our program is procedures and coaching. So if you want to know more about it, you can follow either of these links or just go to our website. Now, looks like we have some questions rolling in. The first one's from Kyle regarding revalidation for MasterControl. Is this, how do you guys handle that? He's asking, is it on-site service cost associated?
Do you want me to take that, John?
Sure, Dale.
Yeah, so
I don't know what I meant by revalidation. Go ahead.
The validation and the upgrades are baked into the services cost. We do have a validation service if you want us to do that. The way the validation works in MasterControl is the initial validation is the heaviest lift, because we go through with you and we look at all the functionality of MasterControl, what our risk is on the design of the software, and then you do a risk assessment looking at, you know, for this functionality, how critical is it to your business? How far are you using off of best practices? What is your regulatory risk on this? Is our validation documents close enough to what you want to test to? So that's the heaviest lift, is us setting up all those risk assessments for the initial validation. Now, every time there is an upgrade, you're on an upgrade cadence. And so 30 days before the upgrade date, we will implement MasterControl into your test environment. You have 3 environments. You've got a sandbox to play with. You got a test environment for validation, and then you got your production environment. So what we'll do is we'll do the upgrade. We'll install it into that test environment. You as a company will also give you a risk assessment showing all of the enhancements that we did and what our software risk is on that. So if we put 50 enhancements in, you may go through those enhancements and you'll do your risk assessment on those, whether, you know, according to what is the regulatory impact if there's a problem with this, how close to best practices for my business, how critical is this to me? And from that risk assessment, it'll give you a low or a high risk on that. And based off of that low or high risk, of those 50 enhancements, there may be only 3 that you need to do user acceptance testing on based off of risk. So along with that validation excellence tool where you can do that risk assessment, it will kick out a change control and a validation protocol for you to execute based off of your risk assessment. So we actually have, I mean, we've got documented proof of people that say, with this new validation tool, it was taking us 3 or 4 weeks to do a validation on an upgrade, and now it's taken us 4 or 5 hours to do that. So hopefully that answered your question with how the revalidation happens.
Quite a bit is, when do you think it's a good time to start the eQMS platform at a company? And you guys have done a lot of deployments. When a company is coming to you, what are the key things that they should be prepared for, or good indicators that it's time for them to do it?
So I was part of a team that selected MasterControl for a medical device company and implemented it. I will say one thing for sure, and this is just with any software, is the earlier in the process you can do it, the easier. A 30-year-old process with 10,000 documents is harder to turn from paper to electronic than when I'm first starting out and I just am creating SOPs right now, right? So that's one that's no matter what software you use. That phased approach, I think, is really important on just bringing in the pieces that you want. And the other thing I would say is make sure you've got a good process in place before you go to an electronic system. Because if I've got just a horrible, crappy quality management system on paper, and I put it into an electronic system, I've got a crappy electronic quality system that's just more visible. So I would make sure that your ducks are in a row and that you've got a good process, or make those corrections at that point before you put it into the electronic system, so that you have a solid quality process in your electronic system.
Yeah, I about you, but I also know if you're going to have a quality system and move it into an electronic system, really look back through your system and think about what things are you doing because of paper that you're now going to get away, you're going to not need to do. So there's some habits and stuff that we do because of paper that once you have a wonderful automated system, things can be taken away. And often we don't do that. We just kind of try and roll our current process in, and there's some nice things that can be removed.
Absolutely.
What do you, given what you just said in implementation, what do you think are the things that make the implementation most successful for an organization?
Your champion and your system administrator. Don't put the janitor as your system administrator. I would not put IT as my system administrator. I'd put the business owners as my system administrator, because they know why the system needs to be configured, why it is, what regulatory requirements. So every super successful implementation I've seen has somebody who is very competent as the system administrator and understands their processes and builds the system to meet their processes.
And I just add to that, having an organization willing to change, right? You got to have people on board willing to make the change from paper to digitization.
True. You can't. A lot of times we think once we go into digital, it'll run itself. We don't, but you really need to set it up, and then it's only as good as the users, right? We have a question from Christian. Do you offer a simple version for a cloud-based software only solution?
Well, the system is a cloud-based software solution, so I'm not sure of the question.
Yeah, Christian, do you think if the device is software? Is that what?
So I'll add something while we're clarifying, is that we do have some best practice jumpstart. So, if you want to bring in a bunch of documents based off of design history file, we do have a jumpstart that pre-configures all of those document types you might need. Or if it's just general manufacturing, we got so that you don't have to sit and design all of the document types into the system. We know what goes into a DHF. We know, for a manufacturing process, you need policies, procedures, work instructions, quality documents. And so we can pre-configure that, and then you can tweak it as you need for your business. So there are some, some best practice quick starts that we can do for you if you choose to go that way.
Not getting much clarity yet. Really Christian typing for. I don't think I have any other questions. If anybody wants to pop any more in, otherwise I wanted to say thank you. Thank you both Dallas and John for helping us see how MasterControl might be a solution for us. Actually, it looks like we just got Christian's answer. They're asking about a software device. So if you have a simpler version for a company that's just a software solution, it's cloud-based, so there won't be the manufacturing pieces.
So really, by it being a configurable system, you can configure it as simple or as complex as you need to for your business. So, I mean, if you're only going to put 3 document types in a management of change form, then just do that and use that. And then as your company expands, if maybe marketing wants to start bringing documents in, it's just a matter of you configuring an area for marketing to put their documents in and their workflows. So being configurable, it's not really a different solution. It's just you're configuring it more simple than if you were a full-blown 17 product manufacturing company.
And when they implement, does your implementation team kind of help them with that? Start with this version because you aren't a drug company that has a lot of, you guys want to just focus over here.
Yeah, we hold your hand through that whole process.
Yeah.
We assign you a project manager from MasterControl and an implementation team. We teach you how to use the software. We send you home with homework so you can go to your group and say, what document types do I want? What workflows do I want? What rights do I want to have people have? What training do I want? What training have I already completed? And then our configuration team will check in with you periodically to make sure you're kind of following best practices. And if you're not, they'll tell you why that might not be the best idea to do it that way. And then once it's all, you've decided this is how you want your configuration to go, our implementation team will install your entire configuration. We've got a tool that does that for us. So install your entire configuration, import all your documents, bring in all your current training and make sure it's grandfathered to the right date so that those people don't have to train again. and then, you know, do the validation and get running.
And, you know, for setting expectations with your leadership, I think one thing that I see that maybe is forgotten is that it's two things. One, like you said earlier, it's good to have a process because you need to put something into the system. The system needs to have something that the business is following. A, and maybe I'm wrong about that. And B, it's really, you know, there is going to be time needed to set this up. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Thank you again, John and Alice, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.